I've always been the girl who smiled in storms. Not because life was easy, it wasn't. Not because I didn't feel pain, I did. But because I learned early that light doesn't wait for permission to shine. My name is Grace. I'm 28. And this is not a story about surviving. This is a story about choosing to rise. From the outside, everything looked whole. A solid job in branding. A bright, airy apartment in San Francisco. Friends. Laughter. Gym classes and glowing Instagram posts. But perfection is the best liar. Inside, I was empty. Routine had become a cage. I was performing joy, not living it. And the worst part? No one knew. Because I never let them see. Until one day, I couldn't keep up the act anymore. It started with small things, skipping workouts, avoiding calls, crying in elevators. Then, panic attacks. Sleepless nights. A feeling that I was living someone else's life. I had achieved everything they told me to chase. But I couldn't feel a thing. So I did what terrified me most. I stopped running from the questions. Who am I without the approval? Without the routine? Without the mask? And the silence answered. I quit my job. I broke up with a man who loved the version of me I had outgrown. I put my things in storage. I booked a one-way flight to Lisbon. Not because I had a plan. But because staying meant dying slowly. And I refused to die with my light still inside me. I didn't speak the language. I had no itinerary. I walked streets with cobblestones older than my country. I wrote. I cried. I danced alone. I watched sunsets like they were gospel. And I began to see myself. Not the version they clapped for. But the quiet girl who loved old books and mangoes and painting at midnight. The girl who hadn't asked herself, "What do you want?" in years. Until now. His name was Raphael. He wasn't a savior. He wasn't a storm. He was a mirror. We met at a photography gallery. He asked why I looked sad in a room full of color. I said I wasn't sad, I was becoming. We walked the city together. Not as lovers, not yet. But as two people unafraid of silence. And he showed me that I didn't need to be strong all the time. That softness, too, was power. Days turned into weeks. Then months. I started teaching English at a local school. I started painting again. Just for me. I began journaling each morning, 5 things I loved, 3 fears I let go of, 1 truth I lived. And slowly, I stopped performing. I started living. I fell in love with my own voice. One day, a woman in a cafe stopped me. She said, "You don't even realize it, do you? You're glowing." I laughed. Not because it was funny. But because for the first time in my life, I believed her. I was glowing. From inside. A year later, I flew back to San Francisco. Not to pick up where I left off, but to rewrite the story. I launched my own creative agency, one that honored heart and soul, not just profit. I spoke at women's events. I told my story without shame. And people cried. Because they saw themselves in me. Because they, too, had been hiding. I no longer shrink. I no longer chase what depletes me. I am soft, and fierce, and whole. I fall in love with life every day, in coffee foam, in strangers' smiles, in the wind that touches my face just right. I still get scared. But fear is no longer the driver. Love is. Truth is. I am. If you're reading this, aching to be seen, to be known, to be loved. Start with you. You don't need permission to change. You don't need a breakdown to begin again. You just need one decision. To come home to yourself. Because the greatest love story you'll ever live is the one where you fall in love with who you already are. And trust me, she's worth it.